So is compromise something good? In Yiddishkeit, do we want to compromise? On one hand, we find that Bezdin, when two people come to a Bezdin, Bezdin's supposed to try to find a compromise, pshara. We know that Klal Yisrael is known as an Am Kshei Eiref, stubborn people. They didn't compromise, and that's a good thing. So when are you supposed to compromise? When do we say no compromising, our way or the highway? So a friend of mine, Evan Genek, told me the following vart. On Hanukkah, we find something a little peculiar about the placement of the menorah. You would think, we know that the right is the more chashuv side. So if you had to put your menorah in a doorway, which we used to do, we lit outside, so which side would you put it on? So you think on the right side. Yet we find, the halacha is, Ner Chanukah is mismoil, mezuzah is miyamin. The mezuzah we know is on the right, and therefore we put the menorah, the Ner Chanukah, on the opposite, on the left. So why can't you put them both on the right? It says that idea of being mesuva b'mitzvahs, being surrounded by mitzvahs, but here's another idea. The halacha is, it states in Shulchan Aruch, that the mezuzah tzricha liyos zekufa. It's supposed to be standing straight up. The Ramah brings another opinion that it's actually supposed to be flat. So he says, you know what? We're going to do something in between. We're going to compromise. Now, if you think about it, a compromise is not doing like either one of them. There's one sheet that says it should be straight, one says it should be flat, and we're doing something in the middle. It's not like anybody. We rarely find such an idea that we're going to compromise between two shitas and do like neither. But that's a halacha when it comes to the mezuzah. We find by Ner Chanukah that we didn't compromise. And that is when the Jews, the Chashmonaim came into the Beis HaMikdash and they wanted to light the menorah, there was oil all over the place. And it happens to be the halach is tum hutra b'tzibur. If they would have wanted to light the menorah, even though they were all tummy, that would have been okay. But they didn't want to. They went and they looked and searched for something tahar. They didn't want to compromise. They said, we're going to do this mitzvah, we're going to do it right. So the idea is as follows. You see, when you're coming into your house, the mezuzah is on the right, on the more prominent side. And it's teaching us a lesson that when you come into your house, remember, now's a time to compromise. But when you're leaving your house, now all of a sudden, what's on your right? The menorah is on your right. And the menorah symbolizes for us, it reminds us of that ner shem, that shemen, that pach shem that was found, that we looked for because we're not willing to compromise. Because when we leave our house, and we're out there, and we're Jews in an unfamiliar territory, or a too familiar territory, the idea is we do not compromise on our Yiddishkeit. So when do you compromise? Well, it depends what direction you're going. When you're coming into your house, you remember, all right, listen, I got my shitas, Shalom Bayis wins. We compromise. But when we're leaving the house, what trumps? Yiddishkeit, there's no compromise. There's a story said about the Rebbe of the Chavetz Chaim, Reb Nachumke, that he was, the Chavetz Chaim actually went to him to see him light the candles. Maybe the other time we were there too. And it came time to light, and he was a medaktik b'mitzvahs. He made sure to light the candles at the right time. And tonight, he was waiting. The first man came, Shkia, and Tzeisak HaChavim, and it's getting later and later and later. And he doesn't light the candles. And the Chavetz Chaim is like bewildered. How do you give up on such a mitzvah, not to light Bizman? And finally, his wife comes home. He says, we're ready to light it. And he lights the candles. He says, Rabbi, I don't understand. Your wife's not chayav to light the candles. Nero Shabbaisai, you light the candles, you be yaitzav. Why does she have to be here? He says, my wife likes to be here when I light the candles. He says, that's wonderful, but the halach is to light it on time. So he says, we find the halacha that Ner Shabbos and Ner Chanukah, Ner Shabbos Adif. We light candles on Shabbos. The reason is for Shalom Bayis. So he says we find that Shalom Bayis trumps Ner Chanukah. So when I'm lighting my Ner Chanukah, I want to make sure there's Shalom Bayis. When we come into our house, we put the mezuzah on a slant to remind us it's time to compromise. When we leave, we're out in the world, Am Kasher Erev. There's no compromise. Have a wonderful Shabbos and a Freilich Chanukah.